Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to chat with you guys a little bit about something that, I always see out there, and it's absolutely ludicrous, and that is this idea that it is somehow dangerous to max out. And, I think this idea comes from watching high school football players in the weight room who their idea of maxing out is bouncing weights off chest and everyone screaming and slapping them and hitting them and just a bunch of stupidity with bad form, grinding reps through any way that you can, bouncing weights off chest on bench pressing, half squats that you good morning up, just all sorts of clownery and nonsense. The same thing when you watch a lot of times bodybuilders will try to max sometimes and they'll just do goofy stuff. This is not what we're talking about maxing out. And to me, I always see this in discussions in groups and other coaches who are out there who push more of the bodybuilding oriented stuff, as if, power lifters today don't look like bodybuilders, the best ones, when the best ones actually do. And most of the best bodybuilders out there do some very, very heavy lifting. So the idea there is kind of ludicrous. But, they'll push this idea, well, it's just not worth it to max out. And it's like, maxing out isn't dangerous. Okay, maxing out is actually approved for exercise science research. It is not considered unethical or dangerous in any way in the lab to test people's 1-rep maxes in studies, including novices, under supervision. Okay, and that's what we're talking about. People coming in and testing their maxes. And what we say by max is we're talking about a training max. We're not talking about a competition max, right? We're not talking about having a crowd cheering. We're not talking about a coach slapping your back and screaming at you. We're not talking about a situation where you just ate an entire handful of halotestin, right? Stemmed out. You shouldn't even be taking stems in pre-workouts. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't even believe in that. I don't think pre-workouts and stems should really be a significant part of training anyways. So I'm not talking about people being stemmed out and drugged out of their mind when they attempt a 1-rep max while screaming and yelling. That is not what we mean. We're talking about a training max in the gym where you go in there, maybe you've had a cup of coffee or two, you might have your favorite songs on. Maybe you have a coach or someone or a training partner who's pushing you a little bit, but not to the point to where you're coming in and just grinding with everything that you have. We're talking about coming in and straining a little bit, getting under a heavy enough weight to where we're well above 90%, maybe in that 95% range, that 98% range, that range where if you were to try a second rep, you might miss it, or it's going to be a hell of a grinder. Okay, we're talking about just a good, solid training max that gives a pronounced training effect that lets you know where your strength is, that has you strain under a pretty heavy weight for 1 rep. A training max. And there is nothing dangerous about this. I'll go so far as to say, I think taking a 10-rep set to within 1 rep of failure is more dangerous, because that's a heavy weight too. That's this whole idea of using a really heavy weight. Okay. So you're telling me that if your max deadlift is 500 pounds, right? That your max deadlift is 500 pounds, that if you come in and deadlift 500 pounds, that it's a higher risk than doing 400 close to failure? Doing 385, that's still a pretty heavy weight relative to that. How is that any safer? Because your form is going to be worse on that high rep set. Form's going to be worse. Same thing that people will be like, well, we're going on a leg press and take it to failure. You don't think that's dangerous? I mean, relatively speaking, the same people who will be against this will tell you, oh yeah, do a leg press to failure. Okay. Well, if you have any leg strength, how much weight is a 10-rep max on a leg press? It's like 800, 1,000 pounds. Because we have so much better leverages and angles. I can rep out 1,000 pounds all day on a leg press. Okay, so how much weight are you talking about loading up? You don't think that's more dangerous than getting under a 500-pound squat bar with correct safeties in place? Like you see safeties right there, right? Getting under that bar with safeties in place. They can catch the weight, being tight, being braced in case something goes wrong, and having safety arms. Hey, that is way safer than repping 800 or 1,000 pounds to failure on a leg press. You see those accidents all the time, don't we? You know what happens when that goes bad and that weight comes crashing down and squishes into you? People tear quads, all sorts of stuff. Hip injuries. Okay, that's not any safer. So this idea is just profoundly ignorant. Like it's not worth the risk. What do you mean? Attenuating upper threshold fibers, getting strong, testing your limits isn't worth it, really? Then using that logic, then those things shouldn't be worth the risk. Taking a set close to failure on a big movement. Even again, some of these machines. I think a leg press machine taken to failure, you don't think that's as risky as a getting stapled under a 500-pound squat? What a delusional world. It absolutely is. People get hurt all the time on leg presses. People get hurt all the time on curls. Okay? Taking heavy curls where you're cheating a little bit, taking those to failure. You don't think that rips biceps off the bone all the time? Talk to some orthopedic surgeons about how many biceps they reattach from curls, particularly preacher curls. Right? Notorious for bicep ruptures. Again, talk to a surgeon. That's dangerous. But here's the thing, at the end of the day, they're going to talk about relative risk. I mean, my God, you need to train at home then. If you're concerned about accidents and risk to that degree, to where you are scared of a 1-rep max, you need to have a home gym. You need to stay off the streets. Because I can tell you right now, someone who maxes regularly, who has clients who max regularly, who know coaches who have grandmothers max regularly, your drive to the gym, back and forth to the gym, is probably a higher risk of injury or death. Okay? Higher risk of injury or death than getting under a max squat with safety arms in place. It's riskier. So why don't the same people tell people, well, it's not worth it to drive to a gym, get a home gym? Okay? Because statistically speaking, being on the road is dangerous. Being on the roads is dangerous. Back when I had my last new car, that I bought a new car, I got hit 3 times while sitting perfectly still inside of 1 year. Either on freeways or at red lights or stop signs, I got hit. My car got hit 3 times in 1 year. I tell you right now, I've never been injured 3 times in a year maxing out. I've never strained or had a muscle pull 3 times in a year. Maybe get a strain maybe once a year, and not even that really. I'm going to say it's less than that. And I'm a competitive lifter. Okay, let's be honest about relative risks here. I've been injured more on rep work than I have been on 1-rep maxes. I've been injured on 8 and 10 rep sets 3 times as often in my life as I have on 1-rep maxes. Okay, sheer ignorance here. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.